Welcome back to NewsMakers. On the panel, Peter Townsend, Jamie Goff and Andrew Holden. On the local scene, there are a lot of furrowed brows and fingers being pointed about the Christchurch Arts Festival. Mayor Parker was with me on ZB on Wednesday and confirmed that the festival has incurred a substantial financial loss. He ruled out any chance of the council buying this event and wouldn't reveal the size of the bailout bill. What do we make of all of this? Peter?
Well, yeah, it's a shame, isn't it? Because the Christchurch Arts Festival was a fantastic event in the city, and it really did contribute another layer of magic, and does contribute another layer of magic in the Christchurch entertainment and cultural scene. I don't think we should get too wound up about this too early. I think we should take a nice clinical approach to it, see exactly what has happened, exactly who is responsible for what, and what is going to be done about it. The thing that worries me about what is going on at the moment is a whole lot of gossip around the city about this and that, which is unsubstantiated. I am sure that the Mayor is right. I'm sure there is a substantial financial loss. But what I would like to see is a much more measured approach to take to the response to that. We don't need to lynch people without trial. We don't need to tear ourselves apart in looking at what should be the continuation of a very important event in the city. On the other hand, I don't want to see everything happening behind the scenes, and I don't want to see a quiet deal done somewhere, because we're over that.
Yep, I think we probably know what you're referring to. Given that this festival was operating in a very tough economic environment, do you think people will be more open-minded, more excusing than perhaps in other times, if there is a big bill to be paid by Joe Blow? Andrew?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think at the end of the day, its success will be by bringing events that are of interest and that people want to pay to go and see. And the festival we've just had, Slava's Snow Show, was fantastic. They could have continued that for another week and would have filled it. It was an amazing event. Yeah. Arts festivals are tough because you're trying to bring some pretty expensive ballet companies and theatre companies, let alone symphonies and operas, to town that you can't do in a normal cycle. So, you know, they're expensive things to run, and how do you get people to pay for them? I know there's been a lot of criticism of the one just gone, particularly around the dome in the centre of town, that had nothing to do with art. Personally, I thought it was great because it gave the festival a focus, and it brought people into town, and from there they would then be interested to go on and see what shows were on. So yeah, it's a tricky one to do. Many
insiders, and I don't mean to crank up the rumour mill, Peter, but many insiders are suggesting that the festival seriously compromised its potential revenue base by frittering away a staggering amount of tickets to friends and to sponsors. That being said, isn't that an endemically Christchurch condition? I mean, that does seem to be the way things operate here.
Oh no, look, I wouldn't agree with that. I run some serious events in the city, and they're well-structured events with a good business plan. There is clear accountability all the way through. We run to budget, we achieve our budgets. There's no reason why that can't be done with any other event in the city.
All right. Jamie, any thoughts?
Very much so. It's great with the ice dome that they had there, because it's really involving all generations. Parents can bring their kids and everything like that there, so I think it's fantastic for the city. I don't think anyone would disagree and say the Christchurch Arts Festival, the Christchurch Arts Festival is not an asset to Christchurch. It definitely is, but it needs to be self-sufficient. That's the thing. I'm not a believer in bailouts. I think that you need to have the right people there. If we want something done, council can look at it and go, right, we can incentivise it. If you achieve what we want you to achieve, there'll be rewards there. But we don't need to be saying, if you fail, we're going to be here to give you a bit of a top-up.
OK. Well, it's possibly been John Key's most testing week, of course, alongside the ACC wrangle. We've had the train wreck that was the television bidding war for the Rugby World Cup, and a single joint bid is now apparently being cobbled together. Māori Television will take the lead role. What on earth do we make of this shambles, Mr Holden?
Oh, I think it's a superbly engineered, if accidentally, by the ARB to extort more money out of the New Zealand taxpayer. Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, they were the ones who rejected outright to start with a joint approach to say, for the free-to-air rights, we're going to, we'll do a deal and we'll present one thing. And they basically knocked that back and said, no, we want a bidding war. What happens? Our ministers, oblige them by having a bidding war with our money. I think it's just absurd. And quite frankly, it should have gone to Māori TV. They do a better job with sport than the other guys do. They would have shown the games live, whereas the other ones will be so frantically trying to run Shortland Street and Corro Street and the rest of that rubbish. I think it's a very disappointing result.
Would you be okay if it did go to Māori TV alone with $3 million from Te Puni Kōkiri?
I don't know about the cost of it. No, I'd be somewhat concerned about the value of it, but that comes down to the free-to-air rights and whether you think the IRB deserves X amount of dollars for it.
Yeah. Should taxpayers' money be part of the equation for free-to-air television rights, Peter?
Well, taxpayers' money is part of the equation for the whole Rugby World Cup, including the television. And don't forget, there's an election on 2 weeks after the World Cup. So I wouldn't underestimate the politics of all of this. I think the whole thing's been messy. I think it could have been done a whole lot better. Fundamentally, to me, it boils down to what is government's role in this and how much is government prepared to invest? I mean, we had a similar sort of thing with the America's Cup, didn't we? Huge sums of money being put up for various parts of covering the America's Cup, and here we go again. So I think, you know, there needs to be some hard thinking done about where does government fit into this.
Jamie?
Yeah, it has been an absolute shambles. I don't know if I agree with the notion that Maori Development Fund should be used to secure rights for such an event. I do feel, however, that the state is obligated to have free-to-air coverage of such major events to all Kiwis. Cricket World Cup, Netball World Cup, Rugby World Cup, Olympics, Commonwealth Games. Those are things that are very... We're a sporting nation. We're very passionate about it. And I think that as taxpayers, we deserve to be able to see it free of charge.
OK. On the global scene, Barack Obama came home from Copenhagen 2 weeks ago, empty-handed, but up the road in Oslo, the Nobel Peace Prize Committee stunned everyone by bestowing the honour on the new president. The audacity of hope indeed. Was this an inspired choice, Mr. Goff?
An inspired choice? I don't know about that. Maybe an insightful choice, perhaps. I think all we can really think that will come out of this is maybe a bit of motivation, because 12 days in the Oval Office isn't a heck of a lot of time to really see what someone's done. Perhaps it's more based on Obama mania and the fact that Bush is no longer president. Perhaps George Bush could have won it for not being president. I think that the only thing that I can really see coming out of this is the incentive for Obama to perhaps do something a bit worthwhile in the time that he has in office.
Yeah. How do you see it, Andrew?
I think it's the anti-George Bush Nobel Peace Prize, basically. I mean, there's absolutely no grounds that you could give it to Obama. In fact, if anything, it's handed him a poison chalice. He's now got to live up to a peace prize, and if he fails, then it looks ridiculous.
Will he have to hand it back?
Well, at that point, you can hand it on to George Bush and say maybe you did do better after all.
Peter, how do you see it?
Well, I've just come back from the States, and it's really interesting to see what's going on up there. I mean, they're very internally focused at the moment. They're dealing with things like health and climate change and stimulus packages in Afghanistan, which is now just being described as Obama's war, and it's slightly controversial, if you like, to award someone a peace prize that's busy struggling with all of that stuff in its various guises. He invested his political capital really early in his presidency, and he came out and he said things that other people weren't prepared to say, and I suspect that's got something to do with it. But yeah, it's you can't help but be a little cynical about the politics of all of this.
Yeah. By the way, since you were stateside, obviously there's been quite a bit of media coverage about this US-New Zealand partnership. Do you think the relationship is in excellent shape, Mr. Townsend? I
think, well, it was a fascinating trip. There were 50 New Zealanders up there with 50 Americans and people that could influence what was going on. And the general consensus up there was that we've got a better relationship with the States than we've had for the last 25 years, that the nuclear ships issue is no longer radioactive, was the description I heard, and that we are now not just good friends, we are two countries on a journey together.
Oh, wax lyrical. Isn't that nice? We'll hold hands during the ad break. Coming up, the New Zealand accent and ducks and their dirty secrets in our river. Plenty ahead. Do stay with us.